on to dialogue and dialogue specifics. Oh, we're going fast now, guys. All right, so with our dialogue, we have a couple of things that we're going to talk about. And the first one is VO. This is voiceover. Voiceover, so how do you mark this? Well, you mark it, well, first of all, let me not confuse people here. So this is the character's name, right?
Yeah.
It's all in caps. If a line of dialogue is VO, then after their name, it's parens, VO, parens. What this means, it doesn't just mean that the character isn't shown on screen, because actually, they might be shown on screen. We just don't see them talking. So like, Carrie could be sitting in her armchair at home, gazing into, right. This VO means narrative. They are narrating their story. They are talking, what is that phrase? Breaking the fourth wall. Thank you, breaking the fourth wall. They are breaking the fourth wall and addressing the audience or addressing another character that it turns out they're telling the whole story to.
Can you put the VO under the name?
No.
Like in an action? Okay.
No, you can't. So, and this is where we're going to get a little bit tricky, is with a little bit of formatting. And I think this does come back to it's lay people reading the work. Also, VO does not mean your character is speaking off screen. That's a different tag. VO, you're telling the actor about their intonation. You're telling them, you are telling a story. In this moment, you are the narrator. You are narrating the tale. So this is how we would write it. That's how we put that there. But then we have a different kind of, come on.
So if Carrie is on the scene, is on and she's talking, her name's going to be in caps.
That's right.
Because we know she's.
So this could say, the narrative could be anything. Carrie could be doing absolutely anything. As a matter of fact, Carrie could even be talking on the phone, we just don't hear what she's saying. So like, her lips could even be moving type thing. I tell you, there's no limit here. VO, it means it stands alone. That line of dialogue stands alone, and let me tell you, you will not be, by and large, now I'm going to stop there, by and large, you won't even be recording VO that day, the day that you shoot. Because what we tend to do is, especially if it's like bookending the project, is we'll like bring people back here. I love the acoustics in this room because they're slightly echoey, and it gives to me that like old school, late 1970s, early 1980s, the slight resonance in narration in voiceover. So I really like that. And I would do all their voiceover in one time, yes. Okay, so.
I'm sorry, I have one question.
No,
so
of course.
If the shot is you and you're speaking and you're getting
Yes.
ready, right? And then you cut to the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
but you are still in the same frame of thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's still new shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, do you just lead in with the next word? Because I mean, I would be fluidly speaking if it's like a montage essentially of like you getting ready and getting your breakfast, like Dexter's, like the breakfast thing.
Yeah.
But I'm talking over it.
Yes.
But I'm changing location.
Oh yeah.
So am I just pick up the next word?
Yeah.
on that? Okay.
I would either like do it as one sentence and then the next shot I start with my next sentence, or to be honest, and I mean I do this all the time. I would do like it really is a dark day. ... Darker than I've ever seen here. And I think that's where actually coming from a foundation of being a writer, knowing how to use your punctuation properly, like what is an ellipses and what does it mean? I have found that sitting down with actors before I do feature films and saying, okay, you guys, this is what a comma is. A lot of people have never taught their actors what a comma is. They're not writers. Why should they have to know what a comma is? A comma is a little pause. A period is a big pause. An ellipses means that you're trailing off. An ellipses with a period at the end means you're trailing off, but you're not coming back to the statement. And and M dash, don't even get me started on M dash. But so yes, you can absolutely ellipse it, then go into the next one. You can stay fluid, you can cut it between sentences, whatever you want. Yes.
So let me make sure I understand
Totally.
where you're going. Dialogue, if you've got two actors on screen and you only see one, yeah, the other one's talking to that person, that's not VO, that's off screen, right?
Yes, if there's a character speaking who's
To
off,
another person.
right, to another person who's off screen.
VO is more just narrative, just pretty much.
Just narrative. And again, all I can say is from modular method, but in modular method, this is narrative. Okay, so now let's move on to OS. So with OS, it's still the same shot. Carrie sits in her armchair gazing into her cup of tea. Mark, not capital, because Mark isn't in the frame, right? So Carrie was in all capitals. Mark calls to her from the kitchen. Mark, off screen. Carrie, are we out of milk? Okay. Off screen literally means the character is off screen. That's it. There's no special intonation. Yes.
So when you then put, in the narrative, you've got lowercase, but then when you go to the,
Yes, because he's really speaking.
but then when you go to the dialogue,
Mhm.
you're gonna have him uppercase.
Yes, absolutely, because he is speaking. With our dialogue tags, they are
Okay.
always in caps. Now, the other thing, we once had someone say, when modular method was being developed, you changed a lot of things, like a dirty shot or an OTS became a
Yeah.
pass. You should have changed OS to ITM, and it would have saved a world of pain. And I'm like, okay, explain, because we make new rules all the time.
Yeah.
Into the mic. A lot of times, this is what people do. If Mark isn't in the shot and Carrie's over here, Mark is over here somewhere, way behind the camera, waiting for his time to be
On screen.
on
Yeah.
screen. And he'll do his voice, his off-screen line from over there. There's such a thing as directional sound. If Carrie is here, and the kitchen is basically over here, I'm the camera person, Mark is standing here and talking into the mic from this direction. And he's not talking, he's talking in a normal, because he's calling. So I always say, your off-screen lines, I want your actor to be in your personal space of your camera operator, because you want them to pick up on that mic and in a directional way. And I'm pretty extreme about it, because I'm like, if the kitchen is in that direction, put Mark on the other side. Because even though we're recording in stereo sound, it picks up differently.
Mhm.
So that's your off-screen line. You're going to use that a lot. And yes, absolutely, Mark. You always put in the dialogue, it's always caps, but in the narrative, if he's not in frame,
Right.
he's not there.
Now, if you're actually running sound, you don't need to have him stand next to the camera. You can just have him do it into the boom.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. We've run Boom before. We've run Boom on the Laurels. And we are pretty adamant against running Boom, and this is why. Unless you have a monitored boom. A monitored boom is when your boom operator is completely rigged into headphones, is monitoring the sound, and has a hot box. So that means he can see, or she can see, if something's going hot, they're monitoring the whole
And I'm not
sound.
talking about running off the camera. I'm talking about an actual.
Right.
Yeah.
In that case, you can absolutely do it. But again, I would make sure that your actor is in the general vicinity of the action. Because a lot of times when they're not in frame, Bill, it's just like, oh, Mark, say your off-screen line. They don't come into like the action zone, the zone where the boom is going to pick up appropriately. And suddenly you're having to bring them back in to dub an off-screen line.
Yeah.
Which, how ridiculous is that? I mean, that just frustrates me to no end. I'm like, you're not even on, this is like I hate to say this. No line is a throwaway line. It's like a throwaway line, and you have to bring them all the way out. The actor's irritated, you're irritated. So just keep them in that action zone, and I think you're okay then. Okay. All right. American Sign Language. So if you have a character speaking in sign language, how do you write that into a modular method script? Well, you would do that like this. I'll see, Walter, you're working against me. Or you just write sign language, and then you write out what they're saying.
ASL goes under dialogue then?
Yes, under dialogue. See how it's in parens,
Yeah.
and you see how it's like a little bit.
Oh,
It's like
Further
it's like a
indented.
parenthetical.
It is exactly. That's my next thing, Mark. Don't skip ahead.
boy.
So that's how you would do that, and remember that you want to by and large keep your characters like in mid-shot if you want people to be able to read as they sign. Carrie, did you have a question? Mark?
You may cover this later, but what if you have a character who is like speaking Spanish? You
Yes.
put Spanish in there and then the words in English?
Okay, it depends on how you want to do it. If you have a character who speaks Spanish, or any other language, even like an alien language or something, I would tend to say, you write what you want them to say,
Yeah.
not the translation thereof. However, if you want it captioned on screen, you're like, because you know, like some people stylistically, they're like, no, don't translate. If people don't know Spanish,
Yeah.
if they don't know
They're not gonna lose anything.
Klingon, you know, they'll get from the emotion, they'll move on. But if you want it captioned in English, then you would say in this narrative,
Okay.
or the following narrative, it actually, there's no hard and fast rule there, but you would say in your narrative for the shot, captioned in English, and then you put the English translation. And I'll tell you, I have done that once. In Teatro de Freak Season 2, the two characters were speaking Romani. And it was actually Brienne, and she said to me, this is such a powerful fight, and it's like actually really kind of beautiful. Like what they're saying is really deep. Why don't you caption it in English? Because like the actors are passionate in the moment. They're not gonna slip in and out, but caption it in English so that people see. And I'm like, I never thought of that. And so that was the rule that we came up with, was simply put it in narrative so the editor knows. Caption in English.
So you say narrative caption in English, but then when you're in your actual script, you would say Spanish, so they know that's the language you're speaking, or alien, or whatever.
So what you would do is, I think this is how we did it for Teatro de Freak. It was Sophie stands facing Sabina, and then I did a production note, which I'm getting to, but
Okay.
a production note I put in brackets, and I said, caption Sophie in English, colon, so, you know, this is part of my narrative. Caption Sophie in English, colon, the English translation, period, and went into the dialogue, Sophie, and then it was in Romani. Because I needed to be able to tell my actor, you know, what she was going to say. Now, usually with my actors, I don't give them pronunciation in the script itself. I reach out to them separately, usually with like a Google link that, you know, teaches them how to say things. But
So pretty much you have to write the Spanish in the script.
yes, you must write the Spanish in the script. So, going back into some of our dialogue fun, talking animals and animation. So I had a script come into me once where it was animated, and so they wrote all of the dialogue as off-screen. And all of the dialogue as voiceover. And I'm like, no, if it's animated, you just have the animated character speak. We all know the animated character isn't really speaking, but do not use
You do?
the same thing with animals. Originally, with the first edition of Modular Method, the script that you wrote at the end had to have talking animals in it. It was just, you know, it was one of the things to show that, you know, and someone was like, well, I should put like dog / you know, Ryan, like the actor's name. And I'm like, no, you just say dog. And someone has
Dog's name,
auditioned.
Rover.
Right, or the dog's
Rover.
name, for
Rover. gracious
gracious sake, yeah. So again, for animals or animation, there's nothing special, just treat them like characters. So now, I don't want to, you guys probably already know this for me. There's two things about me. I tend to mispronounce things, and I tend to get my idioms wrong. So I'm going to have Mark Miller here.
What?
I call these remarks when they're in parentheses.
Parentheticals is what they
Parentheticals.
call them in the final
That's
draft.
a 25-cent word.
I know,
So-
I don't even know where that came from.
Because
A
it's in
parenthetical.
Parentheses.
Is that why?
Right, I assume it's based on, yeah. A parenthetical remark can be an attitude, a verbal direction, or action direction for an actor who is speaking the part. Parentheticals should be short, to the point, descriptive, and only used when absolutely necessary. I tend to avoid them like the plague, because if I have something I want to tell my actor, I tell them in the narrative.
That's the difference.
The only time that I use parentheticals
Good job.
that I use thank you, Carrie, that I use remarks are when I say,
Gonna say shouting.
No, shouting
Mhm.
or whisper.
or shouting, or if it is absolutely not clear, but I just feel it should go in the narrative. Jennifer to Mark,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I think only maybe twice in 6 years have I felt like I needed to tell the actor who they were talking to. And actually, I think what it was they had someone in the room with them, but they were on the phone. And so it was to Mark, who we all know is on the phone,
Yeah.
as opposed to the person standing right across from them.
Since you put everything in narrative,
Yes.
there is no reason for that, because the way it was explained to me with parentheticals was the reason they added that was, well, sometimes we have to let the actors know a little bit extra, but we don't want to overdo the description, because everybody
Absolutely.
gets nuts with this
And what,
overdoing the description. you know?
because I'm like, put whatever you want in the
Yeah,
narrative, it's
yeah.
modular method, tell the story, you're good to
Yeah.
go. I tend to, yes, like you say, put any information that would be here rather, in narrative. The reason I use like whispering, shouting,
Yeah.
whatever, is because I know that when the actor is focused on their
Right.
dialogue,
It's easy.
they're gonna see that really fast. But boy, I gotta tell you, if it's more complicated than something just like that, you know, like if it's sad or, no, don't give them,
Sarcastic,
don't,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
sarcastic, no,
Yeah.
That goes in narrative. This is just like about tone. And so I do tend to avoid.
Would it be wrong if you were to put it, Michael in a whisper says to Sarah in the narrative?
In the
Yeah.
narrative, I would say, yes, and actually I do that. I'll say like, Michael whispers to Sarah, and then I
Yeah.
drop into the dialogue. I just find that it's easier for actors to read. It doesn't break it up. You don't have to put in the parenthetical.
What about like under their breath? Would that
Yes.
be something that you would put?
Yes, see that though, that I would love here, you know, as an aside, you know, whatever that phrase is that you want to use. I think if it's, there's not going to be any wrong or right, you know what I mean? You could put whisper in the narrative, you could put it in a parenthetical. I've done it both even within the same script.
What about like size or?
Yes, now, sometimes what I'll do, you know,
No.
size and then says this.
Or stutter?
Yeah,
But I would
I
think that's
tend
in
to
the word.
write the stutter, yeah, I'll tend to, but a sigh, yes, I put a sigh in parentheticals before, that's a good example. But yeah, I'm like just as often to say narrative, Michael shouts, and then drop into the dialogue.
Wouldn't you put the sigh in the I mean, because if you have like
Yeah,
a big chunk of dialogue and the
Yes.
sigh falls in the middle, would you write the sigh in the middle with the dialogue?
yes, and yes, exactly. So I would do da-da-da-da-da, and then this dialogue goes on, this dialogue goes on, sigh,
Yeah.
Okay.
dialogue,
So it wouldn't
dialogue.
necessarily have to be,
No, it doesn't have to be, only because if I have my character sigh, I tend to have them,
Beginning.
Mark, please, this is ridiculous.
Use
Got
the
it.
Let's just
comma as
forget it and write traditional. Mark, do you have a question?
Yeah, so you would say like, if you'd say like, Frank answers sarcastically in the narrative.
Right, yes, I would tend, like, if you were turning in a script to me and all of your emotional direction for your actors was in the parentheticals, I'd be like, really? They say this sadly and this is sarcastically. Could you drop the ly and just shove it in the narrative? You know, Mark is sad, Mark is sarcastic. Yes, so,
Yeah.
but, you know, again, sometimes it works in, the other thing, that, in terms of parentheticals, is a beat.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the beat tag in dialogue, to me, is money. That, to me, is when I get to have a character say something, but I also get to create an image. So what a beat is a pause. And it is formatted just like this, but never at the beginning.
No.
So let me properly format this and I'll show you guys. So a beat is when you want your actor to come to a full stop in the middle of a line of dialogue. Okay, Brianne, I think you're finally talking me into a new board. Yeah, this is super frustrating. Okay.
You tried alcohol on it?
Yeah.
Those
but
don't look
I
like the
tried
best type of pens either, do they?
I tried the worst, and this is like the
age.
third brand of pens. I know, at his age.
I would say the alcohol just goes through you at that point.
Wait, what? What age was that? I don't want that. Okay, now.
It's like dog years though, so it's probably like 100.
All right, so you have Jennifer. Oh, let's see now.
Can you write space maybe? Can you write to the side where it's not used as often?
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's your oil off of your fingers.
You know what? I'll tell you what it is.
What?
It's I need a new whiteboard. Okay, so it's Jennifer, and then Jennifer says, blah, blah,
Blah.
blah, right?
Right.
And she goes on and on,
Yeah.
and then after she makes her point,
Yeah.
which Lee could have made much faster,
Beat.
we have parenthetical,
Beat.
beat, and then da 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 da.
I bought a new board.
Exactly.
But
And then
lower-
20 years, a lot of history.
Lowercase, uppercase.
Lowercase.
Uppercase.
All lowercase, indented slightly more than the dialogue. It is not centered, it is just indented slightly more.
No, I've seen it centered.
Yeah, well.
If the beat is brought on, I don't know if this is just final draft style or not, but if
Yeah.
the beat is brought on by Bob looking at her intently, that doesn't necessarily, I mean, she can just be talking, he looks at her intently and she keeps talking. If that look brings on a beat, how would you write that? In this
Pointed
style?
stare.
Well, I guess
Do you put the, is that a separate shot? I mean, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
think
saying, it's like a separate shot.
no, it would be, because
Okay.
if you imagine, see, I know you kind of have to start to live inside the brain of your camera operator, right? So if Jennifer's speaking, and the thing that made her stop is that Biscuit suddenly pierced her with a piercing, so you just winked, that's so cute, with a piercing stare. We would actually go, blah, 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 cut to Biscuit, so it's another shot. So that would be shot one, blah, 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 blah. Shot two,
Yeah.
Biscuit staring. Shot three, I don't know what you need from me. You know? So yes, that kind of thing you would illustrate with just a whole new shot.
So it's
Or you can just be like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's the
And
beat.
then cut. But the beat is still written in there.
It's a
So
dramatic pause.
it's a dramatic pause when the camera is not going anywhere. The camera is staying on one person and they are gonna pause for some reason.
Okay, now,
Yes.
differentiate between beat and continued in the dialogue.
That is my, continued is my very next thing.
So would you use a beat if you're changing shots though?
Never.
Right, so if I'm staying on you because I want to see your face and I don't even want to know what's going on past it, but then you're just shock and awe face tells
Yes.
me everything, that's why you would use a beat.
Yes.
Because the cut shot is a beat in itself.
Yes.
You've got it.
Script,
Exactly
yeah.
correct.
It's a
Yes.
script.
Now,
You can use a beat in a tracking shot, right?
oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Good point. Yes. No, you can use beat in anything where someone is speaking that you want them to just
Dramatic pause.
pause, because something doesn't need to be happening.
Yeah.
They can just be a dramatic speaker. They can just be like, that lemonade, beat. It's poisoned. But I mean, you'd put a beat there, because no actor's gonna give it to you like that, because that's dumbass, first of all, that's why they're not gonna give it to you like that. But no, but you know, they're gonna be like, that lemonade, it's poisoned. But no, I want that lemonade, it's
Yeah.
poisoned.
Now,
It depends on how you want it
So for
delivered.
example, what if you have your character walking down the hall?
Yeah.
They stop, they have that beat, they realize, oh, I look like he's sitting on the, so you track them walking back, and then your next shot would be them reaching down, grabbing the keys. That would be the next shot,
Well,
but,
that wouldn't be a beat, because it's not dialogue.
oh, okay, so beats only happen in dialogue.
Beats only happen in dialogue.
Because
So
the-
your narrative would just be,
Cookies, Spencer.
Bill walks down the hall, suddenly he realizes something is missing, he looks down at his hand. Yep, he doesn't have his car keys. Go back for him, Bill. Bill turns and tracks the
So beats
narrative.
just in dialogue.
Only in dialogue. You got it.
So with the lemonade, the beat would be where She says one line and then the beat is while she waits for him to drink. And then she's
Well, that lemonade.
No, but see, Mark, that's cut away
Why is
again.
it kind of-
It's that lemonade.
Unless you're doing a dirty shot.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you
Yeah, you
go.
could.
Now, that's a good one. So if you're doing a past shot
Yeah.
She's
and
watching him drink.
she's
Yeah.
watching, I wouldn't do a beat.
Or you would-
Aha. If there's gonna be a pivotal action that happens during a beat,
Oh, yeah.
don't write it as a beat.
Yeah.
Write it,
That's
write
narrative,
it.
that's
Yeah.
narrative.
Yeah.
I got you, boo.
And she just tried to pick her up earlier, and she screamed.
Okay, I would do it as, okay, this is shot one, whatever it is, mid-shot, I'm best in mid-shot, and then, and this is a pass,
Yeah.
right, and it's past me, my back to the camera, and to Mark, and he's drinking the lemonade, we'll make him the victim.
Here we go.
There we go, right, and, so it's that lemonade, that fresh lemonade, do you like it? And then I would say, Mark nods and drinks, this is all the same shot,
Yes.
and then go back into Jennifer. It's poisoned.
They're number one again.
It's toxic sludge. So,
Blood.
now, you will just see what I don't have here, which leads us into the continued tag. In a traditional script, this line of dialogue would have the tag CONT''D. That's the continue tag. There is no continue tag ever used in modular method.
Oh.
Ever. Well, anything.
Ooh.
What if the line?
We'll get
So
to
you're
that.
That's unique.
And what I'm talking about there is, as Carrie just pointed out, this is in dialogue, so I should stipulate, there is no
Yeah.
continued tag ever used in dialogue. We have a tag that we call the continue tag, but it's something completely different, and if you're used to working in traditional script format, you will have never seen this other type of tag. So the continue tag, as you guys know it from traditional script formatting, is now dead.
That's gonna be hard if you use
Try to
one
no,
graph, it automatically puts it on there and everything.
Yes, and yes,
Why
it
not?
is. That is one of the things that some of our filmmakers that use things like Final Draft, they're like, every time.
What about when it's going from page to page? It's going from page 2 to page 3 and it's not a new shot.
We'll get to that, I promise. So same. I know, I should put that here, but it doesn't go here. It goes
So I don't
in
get my
section.
name on that either.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly right. Again, Lee. Oh, come on, that's not my mark. All right, so those are all of our dialogue specifics, you guys. So we'll move on to our next segment.